Morning, everyone. On the left is the Merriam-Webster definition of fascism, and they've been defining words since 1828, and they are not an alphabet company. And on the right is the Google definition of fascist or fascism, and yeah, here it is. And well, we're going to look at the difference. So on the left, definition of fascism: a political philosophy, movement, or regime such as that of the fascisti, that exalts nation and often race above the individual and stands for a centralized autocratic government headed by a dictatorial leader, severe economic and social regimentation, and forcible suppression of opposition. Sounds like some lefties we know. And fascism by Google is a form of radical right-wing authoritarian ultra-nationalism characterized by dictatorial power, forcible suppression of opposition, and strong regimentation of society and of the economy, which came to prominence in early 20th century Europe. And so now, if you're being called a fascist, and if you're going by the Google definition, you're automatically being tied with right-wing authoritarianism and ultranationalism, right? Just if they're Googling it and they say that's what fascist means, you're right-wing. And it doesn't necessarily need to be right-wing. A political philosophy or movement can be left-wing and fascist. Certainly. Okay, and here's the Merriam-Webster live site, and here's Google. Fascism is a form of radical right-wing authoritarian ultranationalism. Interesting stuff, right? Interesting, and it's the hijacking of the language further, right? We'll tie them right to right-wing extremism. It's wild. It's incredible to experience. Here's the National News Watch reporting Feds advise to focus on the majority to counter populism, documents show. Newly released documents showed senior government officials were advised to, quote, bring the focus back to the majority instead of on diversity values in public communications to counter the threat of populism in Canada. The task force deputy ministers heard this idea among many during meetings last year looking at what the government could do to guard against a possible rise in extremism and populism domestically. The group was told to encourage more public conversations and debate focused on us rather than us versus them, narratives to foster social cohesion. A briefing note prepared for the senior civil servants warned that if only, quote, marginalized populations are considered, the result would be that, quote, others feel as if they do not matter. Social cohesion must become a new lens of policymaking. In order to achieve this, the government needs to build connections across difference, foster greater empathy, and bring the focus back to the majority, i.e. the middle groups, officials wrote in the documents. The suggestions originated from an international expert invited to speak to the Deputy Minister Task Force on Diversity and Inclusiveness in October 2018. The Canadian press obtained a copy of the presentation and other documents to the task force under the Access to Information Act. Tim Dixon, co-founder of the UK-based think tank More in Common, told the task force that Canada is facing the same disruptive forces playing out in other countries that can fuel polarization and division, although Canada may be more resilient to these forces due to past successes in building an inclusive national identity. He said polarization of opinion can cause some to become resentful of minority groups perceived to be getting special benefits, such as housing or social assistance, at others' expense. These sentiments are more common among a majority of people who fit into a middle group category marked by moderate views between the extremes of cosmopolitans with open values and nationalists with closed values. That's why Canada was advised to build social solidarity by avoiding pitting the interests of one group against another in public communications. Rather, Canada should elevate the more in common message and demonstrate the falsehood of narratives of division, according to Dixon's presentation. The documents show that after the meeting, officials discussed ways the government could incorporate the advice into federal policy. One idea put forward was possibly using Canada's school system with its massive integration power to educate and connect people in order to build more empathy and social cohesion, according to a summary of the discussion among deputies. When it comes to future communication, deputy ministers stressed the need to focus on shared values rather than diversity values when framing the social cohesion narrative, the meeting summary says. I find it interesting that they want to use the school system because the federal government, that's not their jurisdiction, that's provincial. And using the school's massive integration power to educate your children on a unity or the majority group, etc. That's not the way. I think they misinterpreted what was being told to them, because the rhetoric from Justin Trudeau has remained divisive. He's softened a little bit, but it's really in my opinion, it's really, both verbally and on Twitter and his public communications, it remains divisive. And, well, I mean, I think he's doing that on purpose. I don't think it's by accident, because this is politics. So, but that's what it is what it is. So here we go. The last story for the first video this morning. Do you remember back in when was this? 9 months ago, right? 9 months ago, we had 12 years, according to The Guardian, to limit climate change catastrophe, according to the UN, according from The Guardian. And in July, it wasn't too long ago, July 24th, climate change, 12 years to save the planet, make that 18 months. Oh, hold on. So just 18 months. 18 months, a year and a half, right? And do you remember when everything was warming at twice the rate? All the places in the world, Australia is heating up faster than the rest of the world, but so is Sweden, and so is the Adirondacks, and so is Canada. And Canada, all of Canada is warming at twice the global rate everywhere? All of it? Really? Okay. It seems to be like a kind of a cool, wet summer from most of the beginning of the summer, and then we had a couple of nice weeks, and it's kind of cool today. I mean, seems kind of out of the norm. Europe has been warming faster than the global average. How is it possible that everywhere is warming twice as fast? Wouldn't that be a faster global average if Russia and Canada? That's a lot of the globe. So it's interesting to me to point all of this stuff out in context, and then have Miss Elizabeth May say this. This is what she tweeted yesterday in response to a CBC News alert that says 3 of Canada's biggest oil sand producers take out full-page newspaper ads urging Canadians to use their vote to support the energy industry. Elizabeth May responds, quote, "This is what we're up against. If humanity doesn't transition off fossil fuels before the next election, the earth will heat to unsafe levels and there will be climate catastrophe." Really? 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 So, yeah, we had 12 years and then 18 months, and now it's October 21st, man. And I wonder if the rest of the world is watching Ms. May's Twitter. Do they know that they have 18 months? Is China aware? I think they'll be building coal plants in 18 months still. Right? Subsidized by the Asian Infrastructure Bank that we've paid in, because Justin Trudeau's paid in a ton of money into the Asian Infrastructure Bank. And I don't want to put a number on it because I don't know the number, but I know it's a lot of money. I've heard it a lot, and I just don't want to go get a link right now, so I apologize. But we're funding infrastructure in places where they still build coal plants. So that seems weird, right? It seems strange. Do they know about this, Miss May? It seems tone deaf. Here's a second one. She says, "We don't have the deep pockets of the oil sands industry, but we have a message. Greens are the only party willing to put a safe planet before political gain. Are you with us?" And, well, I mean, again, it seems alarmist and activist and like not a realistic plan at all. At all. Like, what? You know what? I'm not going to get into it. What do you think about Miss May's tweet? I am disturbed at the cavalier alarmism here. It's very alarming to me because, well, it's alarming. So take that for what you will, and please let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching. Check out thepeoplespartyofcanada.ca and have a wonderful, wonderful day.